Anees Jung. She was born in Hyderabad in 1944. She is an author, journalist, and columnist. She belongs to an aristocratic family of poets. Her most noted work, that is Unveiling India, which was published in 1987, is a detailed chronicle of the lives of women in India. Background of Lost Spring. Anees Jung's book Lost Spring: Stories of Stolen Childhood was published in 2005. It focuses on the children from deprived backgrounds. She is noted for her lively and vivid descriptions. She analyzes the grinding poverty and traditions which condemn these children to a life of exploitation. Explanation of the chapter. The first story is Sometimes I Find a Rupee in the Garbage. This is about the author's encounter with a rag-picker boy whose name is Sahib-e-Alam. He visits the nearby garbage dump every morning looking for valuables in the garbage. The author asks him, "Why do you do this?" The boy tells her that he had left his home in Dhaka, that is Bangladesh, long ago and did not have many memories of it. His mother had told him that the storms had swept away their fields and their homes. So that is why they had come to live in the big city looking for gold. Now what does this gold over here mean? For them, anything and everything. Food that is required for survival and go up to gold. And if they will get anything, they feel it is in the big cities. So that's why they have migrated from their homes to these big cities to find gold. As a reply to the author's question that why do you do this, the boy says that he has nothing else to do. She advises him that he should go to school. She herself realizes that her advice is so hollow, and the boy also replies that there is no school in his neighborhood and so he cannot go to school. She makes him a false promise. She asks him that if I open a school, would you come? He says that yes, he would definitely like to come to the school. After a few days, he comes over and he asks her that when is the school opening? Is it ready? And the author feels very ashamed that she had made a false promise to him. She just said like this in a lighter sense that she is opening a school, but whereas there was nothing of that sort. The boy's life is full of such false promises. He has many such unfulfilled dreams. When the author comes to know that his name is Sahib-e-Alam, which means the Lord of the Universe, she feels it is so inappropriate for him. It is very unsuitable for the rag picker boy. And she wonders that does he know what is the meaning of his name? She feels that if he also knows that does his name mean, he will also feel that it is very inappropriate, very different from what his life actually is. She just sees him roaming around with a group of boys who are also rag pickers. They all are mostly bare feet. They do not have any footwear to wear, and some of them are wearing torn footwear where they probably must have got from the garbage heaps which they scourge. One day, the author questions one of the boys and she asks him, "Why are you not wearing any chappals?" So the boy simply replies that his mother did not give them from the shelf and so he could not wear them. One other boy says that even if his mother would have given him the chappals, he wouldn't have worn them because he does not like to wear anything in his feet and he likes to be barefoot. Some of the children are wearing torn shoes. So the author thinks that probably they have found them from the garbage dumps. She sees that some of the boys are eager, that they also want to wear shoes, they want to own a pair of shoes, but they cannot find any shoes. Another boy tells the author that it is a tradition in his family to remain barefoot, and she is wondering whether it is actually a tradition or he is just trying to hide the unending poverty which has gripped his family. So he is making an excuse that it is a tradition not to wear any footwear, but actually the author feels that he is incapable of buying, his family is incapable of having those resources to buy them any footwear. She is reminded of the story of a young boy who was the son of a temple priest. On his way to his school, he would stop in front of the temple and he would pray that he would get a pair of shoes. When the author visits the temple after 30 years, she goes to the house of the priest, and what she sees is that a young boy is wearing a school uniform, socks and shoes. And so she realizes that the standard of living of some people has raised. It has improved over the period of time. Now those children have shoes, their families can afford those things for them, which earlier they could not buy them. And then she is reminded of the prayer which is made by another boy who again goes to the temple, and he prays that he should not lose the pair of shoes which he has got now. The rag picker boy and his family, they have migrated from Bangladesh. They are living in Delhi in an area which is called Simapuri. It was mere wilderness. It had no amenities, no facilities for people to live in. There is no sewage, no water supply, and as many as 10,000 people whose livelihood is rag picking. They have been living there for more than 30 years. So it has become like a colony for them, but it is not appropriate for people to live over there. Although these people have been living there for the past 30 years, they do not have any identity for themselves. They live there without any permits. They only have ration cards. These ration cards give them their name on the voter list, so they do vote, and they enable them to buy grains for themselves at a lower price. For these people, the mothers of these children, food is more important for survival than an identity. They do not need any identity card as long as they are getting food for their families. For them, they are satisfied if their children sleep peacefully without aching stomachs. So if their stomachs are full of food, they will not have any pain and they can sleep peacefully in the night. So this is more contentment, more satisfying for them than having any identity card also. For the elders, the only way of getting food and shelter for their family is the garbage dump, where they scurry all through the day to find gold. That is anything which is precious, which is helpful for them. Wherever they find food, wherever they get any means to give food to their children, they just stay there, pitch their tents. These places become home for them. And for them in Simapuri, where they are living right now, the means of survival is rag picking. For their children, these dumps of garbage, these rags are more than means of survival. They are the means of providing them wrapped wonders. The garbage dumps provide them something more than mere food and shelter. Sometimes they find a rupee, any coin, or maybe torn shoes. But these things are wonders for them because they are beyond their food and shelter, their basics. One fine day, the author finds that the boy Sahib is standing outside a tennis court, and he is watching two men who are playing tennis. He tells her that he also likes the game and he is content in watching it standing outside the fence. He tells her that he does go inside the court when no one is around. The gatekeeper allows him to go inside and he takes the swings over there. The author sees that he is wearing tennis shoes which look strange over his dirty clothes. Probably he has found them from some garbage dump. He says that someone has given them to him in a manner of explanation. So he also feels that the author must be wondering that from where he has got these shoes. So he himself says that someone has given them to him. But the author feels that he must have found them from some garbage dumps, as she feels that a boy from a good family must have thrown them away as one foot of the shoe is torn. Another morning, she finds that the boy Sahib-e-Alam is on his way to the milk booth. He is holding a steel can in his hand. He tells the author that now he has got a job at a tea stall. So now he will be working at a tea stall. He tells her that they will pay him money and he will get all the meals to eat. She asks him that does he likes the job, and his face, which used to be carefree when he was a rag picker, it gets grim and it gets very serious. He has lost his carefree look because now he has become an employee. He has gone into someone else's hands. The canister which he is holding, it belongs to the tea stall owner. So now this boy who is working at the tea stall, he is no longer his own master. So his carefree look has gone away. The next story, I want to drive a car. This story is about a boy. His name is Mukesh. He belongs to a family of Firozabad, which is involved in making glass bangles traditionally. But this boy has a dream. He wants to become a motor mechanic. He wants to be his own master. The author asks him, "Do you know anything about cars?" So he tells her that he will learn. He wants to learn how to repair a car, and he is also willing to learn how to drive a car. The author feels that the boy's dream is like a mirage. Amidst the dust of the streets that fill his town, which is famous for its bangles. The place from where this boy has come, Firozabad, it is famous for the glass bangles. So when they make glass bangles, a lot of dust is produced. The town is full of that dust. So this boy's dream, looks very hazy. It looks very dim, that the probability he can achieve his dream is very low. His family has accepted this, that his family is not ready to accept the fact that the profession of making glass bangles is not good for them. It is not appropriate for them, because it also harms them physically, it harms their eyesight, and it does not provide them enough resources to even get enough food for their families. Further, she says that his family does not know that it is illegal for their children to work in the furnaces with high temperatures in closed dark cells that do not have any fresh air and light. And she says that if the legal enactments are enforced, they could get out all these children who have to work in such hot furnaces, and they have to slog their hours, their daylight hours. Daylight hours means when they are supposed to go out and play, they are working in these hot furnaces day in and day out. All the time they are in such hot environments. Mukesh takes the author to his house. The lanes are stinking with choked garbage, but he is proud that his home is being rebuilt. She sees that it is just a half-built shack, and over there in one corner, she sees his elder brother's wife is sitting and she is cooking food for the entire family. His grandmother says that making bangles is their karma and their destiny. As they are born in a family of bangle makers, so this profession has been bestowed upon them by God. They have accepted it as their destiny, and she says that this God-given lineage cannot be broken by anyone. Their house is full of glass bangles of different colors, and they have seen nothing else but bangles around them. They sit in dark huts, weld the pieces of colored glass into circles of bangles. The author finds that their eyes are more adjusted to the dark than to the light outside, because most of the time they are sitting in the closed dark huts. That is why they lose their eyesight. The young children, they do not even become adults, and before that only they lose their eyesight. A young girl by the name of Savita is there. She is sitting along an elderly woman, and she is soldering pieces of glass into bangles. The author wonders whether this girl knows the sanctity of the glass ornaments that she is making. These bangles, which signify that the woman's marriage is auspicious, so the author feels that probably when she will also get married, as the elderly woman who is sitting next to her, she will also realize what is the importance of these glass bangles that she is making. Mukesh's grandfather is happy. He is satisfied that He has taught this profession to his next generations, and other than that, he has built them a house to live in. The author feels that Mukesh's grandfather is trying to tell her that he has achieved a lot more than what other people who are in this profession can achieve. His grandmother complains that she has not even got a stomach full of food all her life. So although she is contented that they are doing this profession which has been bestowed upon them by God, she has a complaint that she has not even able to get enough food for herself to her satisfaction. So the author asks them that they should get organized into a cooperative. So the younger generations who are also carrying on this profession, she asks them that you should get together, all of you, and you should make a cooperative and try to improve your working conditions. So these people, they tell her that they are afraid of the lawmakers, the policemen and the middlemen who will hit them and who will be strict with them. So they are afraid of these people and they do not make any organization amongst themselves. So the author realizes that these two things, that is the birth of the boy in a particular caste, the imposition of the family profession on him, the second thing is the middlemen and the policemen, the lawmakers, these two things together impose upon the boys that they will carry on the work which has been passed on to them through the generations, and they do not dare to follow their dreams. On the contrary, the author can see that the spark in Mukesh is still alive. His dream of doing something different than the art of bangle making is there in him even now. The author questions him that whether he will like to fly planes. So she goes beyond his dream of car mechanic and she asks him that why don't you fly planes? She realizes that Mukesh does not know anything about planes. So what he has seen around him is cars moving around in his town, and so he is happy and content with his dream of becoming a car mechanic. When she asks him about planes, she gives him a further new idea. He gets very embarrassed because he does not know anything about them. Summary of the lesson. There are two encounters of the author. First one is with a rag picker boy whose name is Sahib-e-Alam. He migrated from Bangladesh in 1971 and lives with his family in Simapuri. These rag picker boys look for valuables in the garbage. Things like a coin or torn shoes which are gold for them. Their parents' only means of survival, providing food and shelter to their children, is the garbage dumps. They migrated from Bangladesh, which was destroyed by storms in 1971. They can hardly manage some food for themselves, and other things like identity, education, shoes and sports are beyond their reach. They are their unfulfilled dreams. One day, the author finds the boy holding a steel can going to the milk booth. He had got a job at a tea stall, but he has lost the freedom which he enjoyed as a rag picker. The second boy is from a family of bangle makers in Firozabad. The boy has a dream of becoming a car mechanic. He is willing to learn and dreams of driving a car. His family is traditionally engaged in bangle making, although the profession harms them physically and they hardly earn any money out of it. The family elders are content that other than teaching the art to their children, they have been able to build them a house to live in. No one dares to dream of doing something else as they are afraid of the police and the middlemen. These two aspects, the family elders who consider glass bangle making as their destiny, and the middlemen and policemen who scare these people, they do not let the younger generation to dare to dream of doing something else. This boy, Mukesh, wants to be a car mechanic. As cars are all that he has seen on the roads of his town, he cannot dream any further. He is happy and content with his dream. Thank you, and for more such lessons, do visit the English Academy.